The sun blazed down upon the desolate, rocky landscape, casting long shadows and heat waves across the parched earth. The wind stirred the dust, carrying the scent of distant thunderstorms, while an unsettling tension hung in the air. This wasn't just any battle. This was a confrontation between two of the most powerful beings to ever walk the earth. One was a hero of legend, a man whose strength could rival gods, whose feats were whispered of in hushed tones. The other, an unstoppable force of nature, a being of pure fury with power that threatened to tear the world asunder. Samson, the last of the great judges of Israel, with his legendary hair and divine strength, would meet the Hulk, the green behemoth whose rage turned him into a force of destruction. The stage was set. A remote desert valley far from civilization stood as the perfect arena for a battle that would echo throughout history. No one would witness this confrontation. The earth would be their only audience, and it would tremble beneath their feet. Samson stood alone at the center of the battlefield, his long jet-black locks cascading down his back. His shoulders were broad and imposing, his chest swelling with the pride of his divine gift. His bare arms flexed with muscle, and his gaze, steady and fierce, bore the weight of countless battles fought for his people. His eyes flickered with a faint trace of unease, but it was only a shadow. He had faced giants before. This was nothing new. His mind was sharp, his resolve unwavering. He was the lion-hearted warrior of Israel, and today he would face another titan. The ground trembled. A deep, guttural roar echoed in the distance, sending a ripple through the air. Samson's steely eyes narrowed. It was here. It was time. From the horizon, a hulking silhouette emerged, slowly growing larger as it lumbered toward Samson with heavy, thunderous steps. The earth seemed to crack under the weight of each stride. The Hulk had arrived. Samson clenched his fists, the adrenaline coursing through his veins. He could feel the pulse of the earth beneath his feet, resonating with the intensity of Hulk's approach. There was no turning back now. He had heard the legends of this creature, an embodiment of anger, a walking natural disaster. The Hulk was a creature of raw, unbridled fury, and his strength was said to be limitless. But Samson was not afraid. He knew his own power, knew that he had been chosen by the divine to wield strength beyond mortal comprehension. He could not fail. The Hulk emerged from the dust, his massive form towering above Samson, his muscles bulging beneath his green skin. His eyes glowed with an unnatural fury, his breath heavy, as if the very air he exhaled burned with rage. He was an unstoppable force, a primal beast who had never been contained, never been defeated. But he was not the only one with power. Samson's strength had been granted by the Almighty, and his will was just as unyielding. The two locked eyes. The silence between them stretched on like an eternity, both warriors measuring each other, sizing up the battle to come. It was clear this would not be a battle of words. There would be no negotiation, no diplomacy. It was raw strength, the will to survive, and the lust for victory that would determine who would walk away from this clash alive. "Get ready," Samson growled. His voice, a deep rumble that reverberated through the ground. "I'm not holding back." The Hulk let out a primal roar, the sheer force of his voice shaking the desert around them. His muscles rippled as his rage reached its boiling point. "Hulk smash!" he bellowed, his voice filled with raw fury. In an instant, the Hulk charged forward, his enormous fists swinging toward Samson with the speed and force of a freight train. Samson's instincts kicked in. He sidestepped the first punch, his movements fluid and precise, honed by years of combat. The ground beneath him cracked as the Hulk's fist collided with it, sending up a shower of rocks and dirt. Samson didn't pause. He spun around, using his momentum to land a devastating blow to the Hulk's ribs. The sound of the impact was deafening, a resounding crack that echoed through the valley. But the Hulk barely flinched. The green giant roared in pain, his eyes flashing with rage, and he swung his other fist toward Samson with a vengeance. This time Samson was ready. He ducked low, narrowly avoiding the massive fist. and he quickly retaliated with a jab to Hulk's stomach. The punch landed with a thud, but the Hulk's enormous frame absorbed it like a wall of stone. Samson gritted his teeth, feeling the immense power in his opponent's blows. The Hulk wasn't just strong, he was relentless. But Samson had faced challenges before, and he knew how to fight with both brains and brawn. His divine strength allowed him to keep up with the Hulk's rage, but he would need more than just muscle to defeat this green behemoth. The two warriors clashed again, each blow from the Hulk shaking the earth beneath them. Samson's fists were like hammers, each strike carrying the weight of his ancestors' strength. But the Hulk absorbed it all, his skin nearly impervious to damage, his rage only fueling him further. Samson's feet slipped in the loose sand, but he managed to hold his ground, refusing to be knocked down. "You're strong," Samson grunted, his breath heavy. "But I've fought things far worse than you." The Hulk snarled, a twisted grin spreading across his face. "Hulk never lose?" he roared, swinging his massive fists again.
Are you just watching?
Subscribe, please.
Battle had already torn the earth apart. Craters littered the landscape. Mountains crumbled under the force of their blows, and the sky itself seemed to darken with each thunderous impact. But neither warrior had yielded. Samson, the mighty judge of Israel, stood firm, his 7 long locks whipping in the wind. The Hulk, the unstoppable engine of rage, only grew angrier, his green forms swelling with uncontainable power. Samson wiped blood from the corner of his mouth. He had felt the Hulk's blows. Each one carried the force of an earthquake. His ribs ached, his arms burned, but his spirit remained unbroken. He had fought wars, slain giants, and pulled down temples with his bare hands. Today would be no different. The Hulk, standing a few yards away, let out another monstrous roar. His massive fists clenched, and the ground beneath him cracked from the sheer force of his rage. Hulk, smash! With a speed that defied logic, the Hulk lunged at Samson. His fists aimed to crush him into dust. Samson braced himself, his muscles tightening as he met the Hulk head-on. Their fists collided with a sound that echoed for miles, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The very air seemed to ripple with power, but Samson was ready. Using the Hulk's own momentum against him, Samson twisted his body and caught the behemoth by the wrist. With a mighty roar, Samson pivoted on his heel and hurled the Hulk through the air. The green giant slammed into a jagged rock formation with an explosion of stone and dust. The entire cliffside collapsed, burying the Hulk beneath tons of rubble. For a moment there was silence. Only the distant howl of the wind could be heard. Samson exhaled heavily, his chest rising and falling. He knew better than to assume it was over. As expected, the pile of rubble exploded outward as the Hulk emerged, his rage reaching new heights. His emerald eyes glowed with fury, and his breathing was ragged. Samson saw it. Hulk was getting stronger. Every hit only fueled his rage, making him an even greater threat. If this battle dragged on, the Hulk's limitless strength might overtake him. Samson clenched his fists. He needed to end this now. The Hulk charged again, but this time Samson didn't evade. Instead, he took a single step forward and met the charge head-on. At the last possible moment, he ducked, wrapping his powerful arms around the Hulk's waist. With a shout of raw power, Samson lifted the Hulk clean off the ground. The air itself seemed to hold its breath as Samson, with a display of divine strength, hoisted the monstrous Hulk over his shoulders, something no other warrior had ever done. With every muscle in his body tensed, Samson slammed the Hulk down into the earth with enough force to shake the heavens. Boom! A massive crater formed upon impact, dust and debris rising in a thick cloud. The sheer force of the slam sent shockwaves rolling across the valley, toppling distant rock formations. Samson didn't stop. He leapt into the air and came down with a devastating punch, driving his fist into the Hulk's chest with the force of a meteor. The Hulk bellowed in pain, his body jerking violently. Again, And again, and again, each strike carried the full weight of Samson's strength. The Hulk thrashed, his body trying to push back against Samson's relentless assault. But with every blow, his resistance weakened. The desert floor trembled beneath them as Samson grabbed the Hulk by the throat and lifted him into the air. The green giant struggled, but Samson's grip was like iron. The judge of Israel looked into the Hulk's eyes, seeing not just anger but confusion. "You are strong," Samson admitted, his voice steady. "Stronger than anything I've ever fought. But you fight without purpose. Your rage is blind, unfocused. Strength without control is nothing." The Hulk let out a strangled growl, trying to break free. But Samson tightened his grip and with a mighty shout, swung the Hulk over his shoulder, slamming him headfirst into the ground with a force so great that the earth split open. The Hulk lay still, his massive chest heaved, his arms twitching slightly. His glowing eyes flickered, the rage within them dimming. His body, though durable beyond comprehension, had finally reached its limit. Samson stood over him, his breathing heavy, his fists still clenched. He waited, watching, ready for another round. But the Hulk did not rise. His limbs were slack, his body motionless. It was over. The winds howled as Samson straightened his posture, his massive form standing victorious. His 7 long locks, the symbol of his divine strength, swayed in the breeze. He had conquered countless foes before, but this battle had been different. The Hulk had pushed him to his absolute limits. Few could say the same.